Hey there, Halfwatts. This is Tyler, the producer. I just wanted to jump in here real fast and say that this is a continuation from last week's conversation. Mike and I had so much fun just sitting down and chatting. We talked for almost 3 hours, and what I am giving you guys is the condensed version of that conversation. So the first half of that was last week. This is the final half of the two conversations. So I hope you enjoy it. Please remember to reach out to us if you have any comments, questions, or stories that you want to share. And I hope you enjoy the show. Hit the lights! You've discovered the Halfwatt Podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood.
So I now one of the things that I've that's happening with me is in my little world is, you know, I've got all this trust in some of these companies and things that I've dealt with, and I finally am starting to really hit the wall, trying to look at how to navigate the next set of obstacles.
Yeah. And
I think this week or last week at some point I looked up and I really honestly felt like I'm about to go re-navigate this issue. And it's an issue I've navigated so many times that I'm tired. I'm just old.
Like you
cranky.
you have a problem with a system and you're just tired of fixing this problem.
I'm tired of dealing with this issue. I'm tired of I'm tired of asking for information or for help or expecting it and getting nothing.
Yeah. And
you know how the squeaky wheel gets the grease? Mm-hmm. I can squeak. No doubt. People who know me know if I need to squeak, I'll squeak.
Right.
I'm tired. I'm tired of putting grease on the wheel. I'm tired of the squeaky noise. I'm tired of the whole damn thing. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, whatever system I'm working on, I'm familiar with it. I know how it works. If I run into a technical problem that I can't solve, then I reach out to a technical expert.
Yeah.
And if they can't solve it, they'll reach out to their technical experts. And if they can't solve it, they reach out to their technical experts. But if the vendor or the company you're working with is broken on as many levels as this one is broken, mm-hmm. I, honest to God, am at a complete loss as to what to do.
Yeah.
And it is broken. It's not just this company, it's a whole slew of changes in the industry.
Yeah.
that have prioritized profits and shitty management techniques over just getting the goddamn job done.
Sure.
And we've seen this like in local companies that have changed ownership. And I can mention one that everybody knows that used to give meat away. It's a changed entity from what it was. You know, or if you go get your oil changed on your car and you're constantly being upsold, you go like, I don't want to walk through the door here anymore because I want a
standard oil change. Here's the coupon.
God.
Nothing else.
I walked into a place like that one time with a fleet rig, and the guy goes, and I wanted to grab him by the ears and go, for the love of God, do what I tell you to do so that I can get the hell out of here.
I will say we've got the fleet management company cards, so it's just all taken care of. I literally show up, give them my card. They don't even talk to me, bro. Yeah. They just do what's on their checklist of what they have to do because that card tells them what they do, sort of thing. And I just sit in my van and I play Magic the Gathering for a couple of minutes while they fix it, and but
honestly,
off.
Even with some of those companies, because I've managed the fleet before, sometimes behind the scenes, they're calling a guy at the fleet company, going, hey, we want to put these
the premium
we want
oil.
to put these on the we want to put the unused oil in the car, and so then someone else is fighting with it, but it takes the monkey off your back.
Yeah,
and not
100%.
Yeah.
I did have a situation a couple years back. I had actually just become a journeyman, because I got my license in October of 21. Yeah. That November, that Thanksgiving, Black Friday, I should say. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and my boss was like, "Hey, you didn't ask for Black Friday off, so you have to work Black Friday." And I was like, "That's stupid, but okay." And he's like, "We have a service call in Bend."
Oh.
And I was like, "Okay."
Nice.
I don't have chains for my van, and it's November. It's the end of November.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Bend. And he's like, "Well, once you're done here, go to Les Schwab and get some chains." I was like, "Okay, great, we'll do." So end of day, I head over to Les Schwab, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to get some chains for my van." And they're like, "Okay, here's the chains. We'll take your card." I give them my fleet card, and they're like, they're denying it. They won't take it. And I was like, "Okay, here's my company card. Let's try that." And they're like, "No, it won't work." So I call my boss, and he gives me his card. He's like, "That'll work." And I was like, "Okay." So I give him his card, and they're like, "Yep, still doesn't work. It's been denied by everything." So I call my boss. He's like, "That's crazy. Do it again." I do it again. It doesn't work. And he's like, "Okay, let me make some phone calls." And so he makes some phone calls, and the person who's in charge of approving these things is gone because it's Thanksgiving
nobody
week
to approve it.
Yeah. So I can't get the chains. The lady at Les Schwab, she's so nice. She's like, "Hey, we could, a lot of companies will just reimburse you. If you just buy it yourself, you can get the money back." And I was like, No. I don't think you understand, ma'am. I don't want these chains.
And this is working out to my advantage.
This is very good for me right now. I'm not going to buy chains with my own money, and two,
for a fleet rig.
I don't want to go to work on Friday. So if you keep denying the chains, I get to sleep in.
I'm the big winner. Homie and Ben, the big loser.
Yeah. So that was, I know what you mean, like where companies have to call, and sometimes it gets. I'm not here to browbeat, every manager or every company or whatever. I'm just saying that as a worker bee, there are more worker bees than there are managers in most companies. That's how it should be.
Right? Sure, but I've been to places where I'm like, what is it that you do here, and how many of us do we need to have? But whatever, it's great, If it's working correctly, there's about between 13 and 15 direct reports for every manager or supervisor out there.
I've never thought about what the direct what that number looks like.
It's about 13, 15, 13 is enough.
Yeah.
And depending on, every once in a while you can flex and hold more, but that's about.
You have a harder time making connections and knowing what's going on as
well.
much.
You don't have a harder time. You just don't.
Yeah.
And so what you wind up doing is time sharing in between all these different disciplines.
Yeah.
And now you're not good doing any of this stuff because you're constantly dealing with one crisis after another because there's no one to take that.
Right.
And I've beaten my head against a wall trying to explain this to
you right now you're not in a management position.
No,
you're
they asked me to be in a what they call a coordinator position, and I refused. I said, no, that's not for me.
Not to sound like an asshole, but I know of you, Dave Gilson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many techs that are as old as you guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, it seems like at a certain point, you reach a certain point and then you graduate out of the field.
Right.
And you've gone back in because you like it.
I've gone back in because I'm not management material.
Right.
And I don't say that to be flippant.
Right.
I'm not what I do to manage a group of people is not what most companies want. Most companies want something different than what I provide. And so I provide what I've always provided, which is support for my people, training, understanding where the players are at on the field and who's good in what position and how I need to switch those folks around to make sure that they get better at it.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with a team of 12, 13, 14 people, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. Because you've also got, their reviews and pay and I got to take vacation and conflicts and
and you have to not deal with, but you have to work with what each person is motivated by, right?
Exactly.
Everybody's motivated by something different, right? Like at the end of the day, like even though I say, I want to provide money for my wife and my kids and all this stuff, at the end of the day, what I'm really motivated by is food.
Okay.
Genuinely. Like, and I know it might sound stupid. I mean, it's very clear. I'm a bigger guy, right? Yeah. We can go way back into the cameras. We can go way back into my past if we want. But the fact is, I make enough money and I'm thinking, okay, I got to pay rent and I got to feed my family.
Sure.
Those are literally the two thoughts. I got to know where my next meal's coming from.
Yeah.
I got to know I can go buy my wife a nice, meal from some restaurant. It is food that I'm thinking about because to me, that is feeding yourself, feeding your family. That's the most important thing you can do. Yeah. I know guys that they're motivated by the status of things.
Yes.
I need to be known as this guy. Yes. I need to be the guy that does this, and that's their motivation.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I know plenty of people who have shot for and reached those heights. But what I've always wanted and what I've always desired is that, look, if I have a small group of people that I train, and then they say, well, we're going to promote you to be a higher manager to train these, then that means that I need to train a supervisor that works the same way I work to oversee the people that are there now so that I can step into a position of higher authority and then train other folks.
People to...
And then once you get them all working and you've got this machine working, and that's not something that you can put a timeline on. That crap may take 10 weeks. It may take 10 months. It may take 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if in order to form a cohesive team...
You're crafting a culture.
Yes.
Literally in the most literal way possible. You're crafting a culture.
So where I'm at right now as the position I'm in now, the people I'm working with directly are absolutely great. I work with several. Let's see, I probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 people, about 8 or 10 people. We have a loose association of different disciplines that we all do, and they're all good at their job. And anybody who's a little weak at the job, folks are kind of helping them out, figuring out what it takes to get them up to the par. I do more good not being in a position of, oh, you did this wrong, or, it's easier to have somebody else handle that and let me just coach and work with and be there for support. That hits my love tank. That fills my love tank. That means that I'm fulfilled when I go to work. Not only am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I like it, and I'm also helping work with these folks so that they get better at it, because the goal is to train whoever needs to take my position so I can either, if I do get fired or I quit or I retire or get killed riding my stupid bike, they can take over, that there's not a gap in coverage. Right. That's the most critical thing. It's a team effort that I want them to be successful at what we do.
Yeah.
That's all I give a shit about. Yeah. And the money comes. Like, I don't come home and sit there and bang my head against the wall because I don't make enough money. I make plenty of money. I'm fine. I don't care. Like, I've got enough money to pay my bills, to feed my family, to keep my dogs happy, my horses happy, and that's it.
Yeah.
And everybody is good. And can I retire? Hell no, I can't retire. There's no goddamn way. So, I'm going to be doing this till I drop dead at my desk. So what? I'm happy.
Yeah.
What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I have a good family at home. I've got a good family at work. I've got a good work environment.
Yeah.
I'm appreciated. I dig what I'm doing. People are picking up what I'm laying down, and we're moving the ball forward. This stuff's getting better every week.
Nice.
So now I need other folks to, also what I would have expected to kind of get that same whatever, and it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally am, and we're all looking at each other going, this is looking to be like a nightmare. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, the situation that you're in with this.
So now we're going to have a, what they call come to Jesus moment, where I sit down, and that's when all of a sudden, the former E6 comes out, the former Navy petty officer, because oftentimes in the military, and I say this quite frankly, when I was leading in the military, I was learning. I didn't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very, very rare that I would have to go, okay, here's the way it is. I have 3 of these and you have 1.
Right.
Take out the damn trash. Okay.
Right.
Very rarely I have to look at, and I'm, can't see it, but I'm covering up my patch on my shoulder if I had one on my arm.
Right.
Because it's always on your left arm, and you'd go
pulling rank.
Yeah,
right.
You see this?
Literally,
I have 3.
rank.
You have 1. Go do it.
Yeah.
Very rarely did I ever have to do that in the military. Very rarely I'd have to pull rank. I did it more than once. Okay. Yeah. I had it done on me, like dozens of times, where it's just like, look, I don't agree with it. You don't agree with it. Now shut the hell up and go do what I told you to do. Okay, gone. It's an order.
Yeah.
I get it. So the idea was to be able to not manipulate, but to motivate your people to be excellent at what they did, and you give them an order, they don't even know it. They don't even realize it. Hey, how about you go take care of that, you take care of that, I'm going to go take care of this, you go down and do that, and we'll meet back up here and we'll do chow in an hour and a quarter. Okay? Does that sound good? Boom. Everybody's on it. They're off doing their things.
Yeah.
Come back. Were you successful? Got it. Let's go. Let's all go to lunch together. Let's go have tacos. That was a more motivating factor. And when you had a good crew and you were working together.
Food.
Yeah, see? It's all about tacos.
It's all about food.
So that was the critical piece.
Yeah.
And so now I can feel the angst that's coming up, because just before I left today, before I clocked out today, I'm writing this email and I'm trying to explain to this particular person I work with exactly what's going on. So I have to put it in terms that they can understand what the problem is. And in 20 minutes, I wrote this thing down. I read back and I looked at it and read it. Could a layman who doesn't understand what I understand pick up what I'm laying down? And I went, yes, sent, done. And that is the primer for the next scene, which is where we pull out the katana and begin to cut things.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, because
we're done.
I think
get your crap together.
I think I can't remember who exactly told it to me, but I think it was one of my bosses recently who was saying, being a leader is having the courage to say things that other people won't.
Yeah.
To do the things that other people won't. Right. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about in the situation where it's like nobody wants to be the one that goes into a duel. Nobody wants to be the one. I mean, some people do. Right? There are people I know specifically who really enjoy confrontation.
They really enjoy it. And I know
it,
people like that way too. Yeah.
I'm not. But I do want to be someone that is capable enough to hold my own in a situation where I go, look, man, this is broken. Mm-hmm. And we need to get it fixed and we need to make it right. Yeah. Right. And sometimes those two things are different, right? Fixing it and making it right are two different things.
Yeah. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
Fixing it and making it right can be two different things. Yeah. Sometimes you're fixing the client, you're not fixing the equipment.
Right.
This case, that's where we're at, is that the client needs to be fixed here.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
And I don't like conflict, but I don't dislike it.
You're not averse to it.
Oh, no. No. It's 50% of what I do. But I will put up one front to have a specific way that I handle things.
Right.
And people know that I can be, boisterous and aggressive and I can throw a lot of shade any direction I want. That is a coping mechanism because like you have the coping mechanism that you've had to work through half your life, okay? Probably starting from the divorce and other things like that. Mine's a whole different channel, okay? Right. And oftentimes when I'm throwing that kind of stuff out or I'm talking aggressively, I am talking aggressively so that I am suppressing the aggression that is in me, which is an animal. And I've unleashed the animal, and it's not good. So I do thoroughly get that pissed off inside. Yeah. Like I get when I scream at somebody, and I have screamed loud enough that my watch has said, this is a loud environment. I've screamed at people that loud that, it is truly rage that I'm having to suppress. Now, I've been through plenty of counseling. I know exactly what the hell's going on. I know what that animal is, and I know why it's there. But I will tell you that it is a way of blowing off that steam in a safe manner by going, look, this now needs to happen, okay? Yeah. And I'm just saying it nicely, I'm going to pick you up by your collar and I'm going to throw you into the parking lot because that's a safer place for you to be than within arm's reach of me when we get done with this goddamn conversation. Yeah. And that whole scene is like, okay, I'm just going, I'm not blowing steam. I truly can get that goddamn mad. But it's a way for me to just vent it off and go, okay, you've said your piece, cool down. How can we get back on? This happened to me in the military too. I had a guy, and we'll stop after this.
I know you've told me some pretty crazy stories.
I had a guy one time who came out to the fleet. We were in the yards, so that's where you chip paint and that you just paint. And he was an E4, and I was an E4, and I was running this crew, and I said, well, you got to go down and get some paint cans. You got to go down to the galley and get cans, because that's what we put the paint in. See, and then you paint the ship, right? Well, I didn't come here to paint. I came here to do electronic warfare. And I said, well, as you can tell, we're in the yards, so there's not a whole lot of electronic warfare going on. And if you go up to where we used to have my electronic warfare equipment that I dearly loved, it ain't on the ship anymore. And yours isn't installed. So guess what you're going to do now? You're going to paint. So he goes, well, I didn't really come here to paint. I'm saying, that's the second time he said that, and that's the last time I'm going to hear it. Okay, so let's roll for it. Go down and get the paint cans. So I send this idiot down to the galley and I get a call about like 20 minutes later, and it's the cook, one of the cooks down, one of the mess specialists down there, and he's a Filipino guy I knew, and he's screaming at me in half English and half Tagalog. And he's going, you can't, get down here. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm doing this guy for like 2.5 years, like 3 years. So I zip down there, and he's like, this guy. Because he came back up, he goes, well, the cook won't give me any paint cans. Well, and then that's what they do. Like they empty the cans of beans, those 1 gallon cans of beans. They would just store all the cans up for people to come get for paint. I'm like, what the hell? They wouldn't give you an empty can. Yeah. What have you done? So I get down there. This cook just goes off of it. That mess is just going off of him. He's going, what the hell's wrong with this guy? I said, what did he do? He comes down here, demands paint cans, tells me what I need to do. And this is a second class. And I'm like, what? So then he gives me the whole spiel. And I look at him and I said, did you do that? Did you do that to this guy? And he goes, yeah. And I said, what the hell's wrong with you? So I threw a couple cans at him. I said, take the goddamn cans and get up and go to the paint locker and get Ace Gray and go do it. He goes, This ain't working out. And I said, dude, I'm going to give you one more chance at this, okay? I'm going to drag you in front of my warrant officer, and we're going to have a serious discussion because the next time I'm going to write you up. I have no choice at this point.
Yeah.
And I've never written up anybody, which is
Yeah.
where you write them up and they go into non-judicial punishment. And I said, and you're right at the limit. So he calms down. I calm down. We go get the goddamn cans of paint. And then I put him out to the paint. And it was like, I think he was throwing it on the bulkhead.
Really?
Yeah. And I realized at some point that either A, this guy was too stupid to paint, which could have been the case, except that he'd passed the same course as I had, which didn't make any sense to me, or he was just screwing with me.
Yeah.
One or the other. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, I literally had to back off, take a walk, go down and talk to somebody I knew who was, who had been leading for a while and kind of come at it from a different approach.
Yeah.
And so I had to come back and approach this guy from a different way. And I apologized. I said, look, I'm sorry I threw cans at you down on the mess decks. But in my defense, okay, you're being a bit of a douche. So I don't know how to tell you what it's going to take, okay? But we all need to coordinate and we need to learn how to paint. And we eventually did work out a way of handling it. But I truly had to back up and come back at it. And I realized that this guy had a different way of handling things.
Yeah.
And I had to learn what way motivated him.
Yeah.
And truly getting angry wasn't it.
Right.
Like he thrived on that. Okay, well now if I got someone who thrives on my getting angry, then he's gonna poke the bear.
He likes to see it.
He likes to see it. Yeah. Then he wants the attention.
Right.
Oh well, once I figured out that I wouldn't give him any attention. That was the game changer for me.
Right.
So now he was like, look what I did, and then I'm like, well, I guess you're gonna be here till about 9 until you get all that shit fixed. And so that was like my beginnings. Well, now at my advanced age, I'm like, like the fuse seems to be getting shorter at times. And part of it is I look at these situations and I go, this is the same damn situation I've seen for 41 years. Mm-hmm. It's like, why is it still happening? What the hell is going on in the world that we haven't solved these damn problems yet?
Yeah.
Like, why are we here? Like, why are we here again and again?
I think there's a lot to glean from that experience, that knowledge, because I'm at the beginning of that. Ooh, right? Like,
good luck.
Just the other day, I went to go to take an old panel off the wall, put a new panel on with a new cell communicator. They were on POTS lines before. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when I say old, the old panel was from 1994. Oh, wow. And on POTS lines, I took it all off, put up my new panel, put up my cell communicator, did everything the way I do it every time. I've installed, at this point, hundreds of these, right? And it didn't work.
Oh.
I did, and I pulled the battery,
You're like,
and it's not sending a signal. Right? I'm like, wow, that's weird. Huh. Okay, so I start going through the checklist in my head, right? Because I've done enough of these to have created that checklist. Number one issue: is the cell communicator capable of getting a signal?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there's
how
no
do I check
signal
that?
to hit it.
How do I check that? Well, there's hard zones, so let's short one of those, right? Boom, short it, and immediately it pops up on my monitoring. So
timer, that's working.
Not a reception issue at all. That's weird. So then I spend the next 5 hours quadruple checking my wiring, my programming, the information. I called our tech support, our data services. I called the company, the manufacturer. 5 hours of hold time and checking and testing and rewiring and rerunning everything about this. And I was, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm going home. I don't know.
You're on Firewatch. I'm going to go home.
I mean, they were already, it's not a big deal already. So I went home, and then the next day I came back, and I was like, I did something else. I can't remember what I thought was going to fix it, but I did something else, and it didn't fix it. I'm like, okay, this is really stupid. So I happen to have the exact same cell communicator from an old job that I hadn't returned to the shop yet. It worked just fine. It just wasn't getting the right signal out where it was. So I knew that it should work just fine. So I take this one I installed the day before, took it off the wall, put up the other one, the scrap, we'll call it, plug it in, and it worked. First time.
So that other one the first one was bad out of the box.
It's just bad out of the box. Took me 5 hours and me self-doubting myself for 5 full hours. Wow. I went home broken. And Becca,
but you'll
my
never
wife,
do
was
that
like,
again.
She's like, what's going on? You seem really down. I was like, I had a bad day at work.
Isn't that crazy though? And you're like take that personally because you feel like you failed.
Yeah.
And it's not you, it's the equipment, but you just can't, like you're so tunnel focused on
it. Has to be me. I had to be the one that did something wrong here, but I didn't. No. I did it all right. I did it right 4 freaking times, man.
I did it right 4.5 hours ago.
And so finally, and you're right. I won't make that mistake again. No. The next time, and this is something I was talking to my boss about, where the improvement that I need to see over the next year is more confidence in myself, because I genuinely have good instincts. I know that I know my stuff. And if I don't know it, I don't act like I do. I double check. I triple check. What I need to start doing is going, sometimes it's not me. Sometimes it's the equipment. And once
you verify that, you just and
after I did that job, I went to another service call. I left that job, went to a service call. Immediately it was like, yep, it's a broken panel. And they're like, really? That fast? I was like, fast? I literally just did this with something else. I'm not playing this game again.
You're learning and you quickly applied that. And now you know in your head, next time I have a communicator that doesn't work and I've checked everything else, swap a communicator out with a spare, keep a spare, obviously. And then, that's what the problem was. Hey, we might have a problem with this. But at least you're looking at what's going on and you're figuring it out. And even in my case, it's like, of all the things I've done in my life, all the mistakes I've made, all the crap I've gone through, all the successes I've had, you would think at this point I would just have
all the answers,
all this shit down. I wouldn't ever get emotional. I wouldn't ever lose my crap. Everything would just be peaches and cream. That's hog snot.
Right.
It's every single day. There is one person in my life who can affect how my day is going to go. And that's me.
That's you. Yep.
And so if it's Groundhog Day and I'm repeating the same shit, then I think
I'm a god. I'm not the god.
It's just, you just can't. I love when he walks in and drops the toaster oven in there. The lights go out and starts up again. But, I'm the only person in this equation who can change. And if I'm losing my crap and getting upset and doing like that, there's something going on I haven't solved yet. And in my own world, it's right in front of me. I'm just choosing not to solve it. And I can see it and I can feel it, and it affects what's going on. It affects other people.
Yeah.
And if I'm angry or frustrated or screaming or losing my shit, then there's a reason why. And I haven't solved that problem because I don't need to be this way. It's just sometimes I get up and I can look at it, I can see it, and I can fix it, and I can get it good for a while, and then next thing you know, your world shifts again.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm always going to have this. My old boss used to say, you're going guardrail to guardrail. You're driving guardrail to guardrail. I need you to go down the middle of the lane. And that's a fair representation. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to go back into management, because I'm just tired of going guardrail to guardrail.
Yeah.
I can't make a company think the way I want them to think. I can't make them do what I want them to do. I can't control this situation, and I can't accept the way it is because I know that it's wrong.
Right.
And so the dichotomy is where I crash, is knowing what is right and knowing what I've got and knowing that the two are incompatible. What the hell? Like, at what point in time does common sense catch up with where I'm at? And or do I just roll over and accept it?
Yeah.
And punch in, do what I got to do, go home. And I'm saying that not that the company I work for has got an issue. It's a physical thing.
Yeah.
It's a bolt. It's a thing hanging on a wall. It's like, why am I getting mad at this thing hanging on a wall?
A great episode. One of our first episodes that we ever did was your lecture on being Zen.
Yeah.
And with troubleshooting, that changed a lot of the way that I did my work. After I listened to that episode, I listened to that episode 3 times because I had to listen to you do it.
Yeah.
I had to edit it, and then I listened to it while I was at work. Man, that's how much I liked that. If you're a new listener, you haven't checked it out, go look up. It's one of our first episodes.
I like it.
I think it's called Getting Zen, and
troubleshooting, getting Zen with troubleshooting, or something like that. Yeah.
And it is that, and I have to do that. Like, I've gotten better as a troubleshoot technician. I don't know.
Troubleshooter.
As a service tech, I put a lot of stuff into practice in the last couple of weeks that I've found a lot of success. Like, the example I gave was probably one of the worst situations I've been in, but like there's all kinds of stuff that I'm super proud of. Like, just the other day I did one where my boss says, hey, someone had the fire department show up last night at 11 o'clock. But when they checked the panel, it has no history of a fire alarm, and the strobes and horns didn't go off. And I'm like, that's weird. Let's look into it. I show up, and sure enough, the panel has the history. I'm looking at our monitoring, and I can see at 11 o'clock, water flow, supervisory alarm, right? And it gives me the zone, and then it says all the phone calls it made,
someone's mimicking
dispatch, and then I go and look at the panel, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, someone restored. Someone did a reset 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then nothing until the next day, the day I got there, when someone put it into they closed the tamper so they could work on the water flow.
Oh, so system. It was the panel. Okay.
So, well, that's the thing is, but at 11 o'clock, when the fire alarm was called, when the fire department was called, on monitoring, it's 11 o'clock. There's nothing at 11 o'clock.
That's weird.
I checked the time and date, right? Maybe time and date's off. Nope, time and date's fine. There's a void of information, and my brain's like, something's up.
Yeah.
And then I look at the zone,
and
it has a specific zone that I've not seen a lot. I open up the cell communicator. Cell communicator is plugged in with phone lines, right? Like we intercept the phone lines. It also has 4 hard zones with resistors in it. And I short one of those hard zones, like I did the other day when I was trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. Sure enough, that zone came in when I shorted the hard zone. So I've proven.
Was it undefined on their end?
No, it said water flow.
Okay. So that's
I hit
a hard water flow
I hit
zone.
all 4 of them, and they all came at tamper supervisory water flow alarm. That exact one came in with water flow. It is programmed to come in as a water flow.
So what tripped it?
My explanation is that when the lid got put on the cell communicator, the resistors that there's 4 terminals, 2 next to each other, right? The 2 resistors that were like right next to each other got pressed together, and that wasn't quite enough. But then it got really cold that night, and this room is like not air controlled at all. And so I believe that somehow, maybe I'm dumb here. Maybe someone's listening and gonna be like, no, that's stupid. But the cold somehow condensed the metal together on the resistor, which caused it to actually short out, and it caused a fire alarm to go off.
The only other thing you could do is ask the monitoring company.
That's what we did.
What what number called with that code, and if it's that number, then
I spent like 2 hours on the phone call. We went over everything, and I ended up just telling him like, "Hey, just disregard these.
Yeah,
we never use these. We're not going to use these. We're using our
just take those
using the
zones
dialer.
and
Just don't worry about it.
Just leave it.
That way, if it happens again." And I had to explain that 4 times to the land. They're like, so, but what's going to happen though if it happens again? I was like, nothing.
You're going to
no
ignore it.
one's
That's
ever going to know.
do.
No one's going to know. So that was a success. That was a victory, right? Like, and I figured that out in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I would love to say that in these situations, like these are the situations, and I'm sharing it with my audience because people who know me know that I don't. If I don't talk about crap that's bothering me, and
builds up.
It builds up, but it also is like, hey, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like I don't have the answer to every damn problem out there. I also am human and am prone to failings. I can give you 2 hours worth of my failings. So it's like it's there.
Yeah.
So if you think that, Mike Brooks got his shit together, no. I've got my shit together in a lot of areas, but man, I'm still a work in progress trying to unsnarl these other messes, and I may go to the grave never unsnarling some of this.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things where it's like I have to work at it.
Yeah.
And if I don't keep working at it, if I don't talk about it, if I don't share it and get it out and going, if I sound like I'm going off, I just may need someone to walk up and go, man, do you need a cookie? What the fuck's wrong with you? I got chocolate chip cookies. We should go buy you one.
Food motivated, man.
Food motivated, something like that.
Everybody's food motivated. All I'm saying is, if you need me to come work for you guys, I'm food motivated. I'll take my bonus in tacos and orange chicken.
We had a big old pizza party today, and I don't know how many pizzas they bought, but it was a lot.
If my boss is listening to this, I didn't just actively ask for a new job. It was a joke. It was just a joke.
But he did want pizza.
If my boss is listening to this, I do want pizza.
I do want pizza.
Orange chicken or pizza or tacos. Those are my top 3.
I tell you what, man, my Achilles heel is I went to this coffee shop. We have these coffee shops all over the place.
Everywhere.
And they're internal.
Oh, like in the hill. Okay.
And I'm like, they got these cookies that are all packaged. Clearly someone's, bringing them up because they got a name on them. Then they got these are just in saran wrap. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll try one of those. They're soft. These things are like award winning. Honest to God. And so I found out that they do 2 for 1 after a certain amount of time on Thursday. And I'm a beast if I get there and they're all gone. I'm like, because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Like there's a run,
Yeah.
And I'm like, And so I went to this, we had these accreditors come through. And so, but they had those cookies out the other day. And I was like, dude, it was so tempting to just take the entire tray.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if anybody really noticed if I walked out of here with 50 cookies. I didn't do it. But anyway, I'm just sharing the fact that I still struggle with a lot of shit, trying to keep it straight because when you're doing, I don't mind if I'm troubleshooting something and it's a ground fault or it's a installation problem, or when I made that connection, it touched the case. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I do something stupid, I do something stupid.
Right.
Shame on me. If an installer does something, it happens. If they do it every other day, we might have to hunt you down.
But need to work on it.
But if it's a problem that is completely out of your control, I mean completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And then you've reached out for help, and you just get this,
Yeah.
For months, I'm like, what the hell? And then I could just feel my, I'm like, and we're on the apex, and now, there's a whole bunch of us who are going, what the hell's
Everybody's
going on?
starting to get involved.
You're like, why are we at this position? And like today, I just came to the conclusion where I'm like, you know what? I have seen this before.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again. And at some point, you just go, I thought we were better than this. It's 2024.
Yeah.
It's 2024. I mean, come on. Good God. We've been doing this shit for 50, 60, 70 years now. Mm-hmm. Not me. You know what I'm saying?
The industry.
But what is going on here? What kind of crap is that? And I feel like we just keep reinventing stupid. It's like we're just redefining stupid. Mm-hmm. And so I just can't. That is the wormhole I fall in. It's like if I watch a show, like we talked about watching Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
I've been watching Gold Rush. Have you ever seen that show?
I've seen a couple episodes. Yeah.
Okay, we're working our way through the Gold Rush. That's the current thing, and I'm watching the whole drama unfold and the music and the and the way that well, I got to get this dirt moved and you do what you think is right. And everybody's you can see everybody's trying to act because there's TV cameras. So it's like observing something. It's changing the way they really feel, and my biggest thing now is to predict what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because you can hear the music. I'm like, okay, well, if I was directing this, I would this is going to happen, and like a big rock's going to fall down and crush something. Oh, that ought to be great. Oh, like a big rock fell down and crushed something. And we all laugh, and then we start watching the next step of the episode. But at some point in time, you watch enough of these where you go, this is a predictable pattern here.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the leadership qualities or not leadership, lack of leadership qualities as these different characters progress.
Right.
And some of them, man, you can see leadership in them that just goes forever, and other ones you're like, how do you get your pants on in the morning? What happened to you? You know what I'm saying? And it's an interesting piece. It's the same thing like you watch Pawn Stars, or you watch you see these shows where they're kind of a docudrama kind of a thing, and you're kind of like, yeah, I see the characters here and I see what they're doing, and you can predict what's going on. It's a good exercise. But then I look at my own life, I'm going, well, I'm just as predictable as these clowns. Yeah. I have the same
but I think that's
shortcomings here.
That's a really good exercise, is self-evaluation, right? To look at yourself and go, what is causing this? What do I do in this situation? How did I react? How could have I reacted? Not in a way where you're like, oh, how could I have done this better? I'm so bad.
Beat the crap out of yourself.
Yeah, it's more like, okay, this is what I did. I had a team meeting where we were all in a team meeting, and I had just taken NICE at 1, right? And it was hard. When I took it, it was hard.
It's hard and
I've had people who are like, yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. You shouldn't even open up the book, and you should be able to pass it. And that pissed me off, man. And at this team meeting, imagine. And at this team meeting, another guy on our team is getting ready to take NICE at 1, and he failed it. He failed NICE at 1. And they're like, I keep hearing the leadership being like, yeah, it's so easy, dude. And I'm like, what does that do for this guy's psyche when they hear you say it's the easiest test in the world, you shouldn't even have to open your book, and then he fails it?
Right.
What does that do to him?
It's an ego kick.
And in this meeting, man, I was like, look, if I hear one more person say that you don't need to open your book to pass NICE, if I hear one more person say that it's an easy test, you're gonna get a talking to from me. Yeah. I don't care if it's our regional manager. It's not an easy test. Don't say it's an easy test again. And I said it that mean.
Good.
I was that aggressive about it, right?
I'm so pissed off at you right now.
And
that's exactly the way to do it.
I can feel my heartbeat in my face as I'm like,
because it's bullshit.
And I'm so angry.
It's bullshit.
And like I was like, okay. Afterwards, like I even apologized. I was like, I'm sorry, I got so heated. And they're like, no, what you were saying is right. I mean, everybody was like, yeah, no, what you're saying is right. And it's different for everybody, and it's different from when we took it. It's not the same test.
It's not easy, dude. It's not an easy test. It never is. If it was easy, everybody would have it.
Right.
Everybody would have it, dude.
Yeah. So that's, I know that I, maybe not as much as you throwing paint cans at people, but I know I'm a hothead, and that comes from self-evaluation. Same thing as I said earlier. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like having a manager. I don't want a boss. I have trust issues. These things I know because I self-evaluate, because I sit down and I look at what I've done and I go, okay, how can I be better? And I think that's the most important part of any tradesperson is to go, what have I done? Even if it's a victory, even if you succeed, and you still go, what could I do better? Yeah. That's the number one thing.
Self-evaluation. Yeah. And I beat myself up pretty good at times. And then other times I'm like, oh, I'm perfect. I don't have this problem. And it's like that whole scene, right?
Yeah.
That whole scene of like evaluate, look, think, shut your mouth, don't drink too much coffee. If I drink too much coffee, I'm all jacked up. I say dumb shit. So it's like, it's that whole, I just, everybody who knows me, and a lot of people do, it's like, I'm human and I make mistakes and I have emotions and feelings and like we were up, this didn't affect me at the time, but we were, with a group of people up on the bone marrow transplant ward, and the charge nurse was explaining, they do BMTs there. Well, my youngest child had a BMT and died because of it, not because of the BMT, but because of the cancer.
Right. They
did a bone marrow transplant with stem cells. She didn't make it. Opportunistic diseases got in there and killed her. One of those diseases is aspergillus. Aspergillus lives in ceiling tiles. If you look that up, there's aspergillus in its construction dust. That's what killed her. Now, that whole scene of being on that ward, seeing all these patients, knowing that their rooms are all, pressurized a certain way to keep bugs from killing them. I know all that stuff. Well, I went through the whole place, that ward, the next ward, without ever even thinking about it at the time. And then later on, as I was biking down the hill, I thought, you remember those things. So you remember the intensive care. You remember watching your kid die. You remember all those things, and they come out. They didn't come out then.
Right.
It didn't affect anything then. I was just like, I'm just doing my job and
right.
and interfacing and stuff like that. But then like 3 hours later, you're like going, oh crap, all of a sudden now you have to live through that pain again and go, okay, both of my kids have died in the hospital I work in. Now, the hospital didn't do anything wrong. They were straight on. Everything went fine. It just was, the luck of the draw. And that's even, knowing that, it's like, the best thing I can do is make sure that, hey, if I pull a tile, I'm making sure I'm using all the right equipment to keep the aspergillus off. And if I see somebody not doing that, it's like, I'll not want to be a douche, but I'm serial about this. Like that stuff is deadly to people who have cancer. It just is deadly. Right. They don't know it because no one teaches you that, but I'm telling you that the dust control measures are absolutely critical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but it was like one of those things where you're so connected to a place. Even when I walk through like the peds ICU area, I go past the room that she was in and the whole 9 yards, and it's like, there have been hundreds and thousands of people that go through here. Not all of them make it. That's how it works. That's what they do. And so you're like, how come I can hold it together there and about that and then deal with the emotions hours later, but then, this thing on the wall doesn't work right. I want to headbutt it. It's like, what? This is like, why am I not, and that's
it's just out of sync.
It's completely. And it's really, the more I know brains and people and personalities, it's a displaced kind of a, like you strain at this little tiny problem over here because this big behemoth you don't want to talk about, or you've dealt with the big behemoth and then you take it out on this little tiny issue.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that your perspective is completely skewed. Right. And you don't realize again, your perspective is skewed.
What you said earlier, you're going back and forth on these rails. You need to find that center. I mean, literally center yourself.
Yeah.
To where you can just breathe, you can relax. You can
or
understand.
music when I'm get in that position,
Yeah.
if I can do it, I'll put music on.
Yeah.
And since, God bless iTunes, because, man, I'm telling you what, I can go, I need to hear classical.
Yep.
Here comes Mozart. Or I need to hear Marilyn Manson. I need to hear Beautiful People. I need to hear it loud, Yeah,
no, I get it. I do that with lo-fi.
There you go.
If I'm like, I gotta concentrate, I gotta focus on this panel and what I'm doing, and I need the world around me to disappear, I just throw on lo-fi and just let the that's all it is.
Is that like an instrumental? Is lo-fi instrumental stuff?
It's like I don't know. There's a mixture of like hip hop, jazz, sort of sound.
It's not like, does it sound like you're pulling a cat through a knothole or anything?
No, it's very chill. It's very relaxed. It's not jazz like. It's like,
I can't do jazz.
It's very chill.
So
I'll play some for you after the.
But the way that jazz can just because the musicians are going off doing
they go
their
off
own
and
thing.
do their own thing. Yeah.
It drives me crackers because the music I like, I already know what I'm expecting.
Want to get
so it's like when I go to see a band, I saw Garbage in concert. Garbage, I've seen it a couple times. Garbage in concert sounds like garbage when you listen to it. Like they don't miss a beat. Same thing with the Offspring. They don't miss a beat.
They do their song.
They are so good.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've seen too many. Yeah. The one who didn't do that was when I saw Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page was right on his game.
Sure.
But Robert Plant just talked his way through the whole concert.
Of course he did.
And
what else is he going to do?
I was just like, why didn't you remember Song Remains the Same when he talked through that? You're an idiot. Why'd you pay $1,000 to see this shit? And it's like, but that's so that anyway, jazz hands.
I think with that, I think we'll probably come to a close. But if you guys are listening to the show, if you're
still here,
if you have your thoughts on leadership, I'd love to hear what our audience has to say. Whether you're an apprentice, a journeyman, a foreman, a manager, the owner of a company,
sorry,
not a weasel.
I said manager weasel. Just like I'm a fire alarm monkey. When I actually introduce myself, I'm the fire alarm monkey.
Yeah. So that's I want to hear. I really do want to hear from you guys. As the producer, I want to read your stories and share those. So email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com.
Do it.
Follow us on Instagram. We're gonna start doing some contests soon. Gage couldn't make it tonight because he got in a car accident.
He was actually in.
He was actually, when he said, "I'm in the hospital."
Oh, I thought he was there
joking.
working.
No, he's in the hospital.
He didn't mess up his new truck.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it was a work rig.
I think it was a work rig. Yeah, I don't know.
Ouchie. I thought he just said, "I'm still."
See,
earlier, I thought he was actually working.
Earlier, when I was like, "Hey, what are we doing for the episode?" Or I was like, "What? Do we have an episode planned?" And he's like, "I did, but I just had a 350 ram up my ass, so I think the plan went out the window." And I thought he was I thought he was just saying like my work got away from me or something like that. And then he sent the pictures of his car. And I was like, "Oh, you're serious? You literally mean an F-350 ran up your butt?" Yeah, it was bad. So,
I need to text him and tell him I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Gage has been working very hard to get some contests going for the Instagram. So make sure you go follow our Instagram, and you can find us at Halfwattpod on Instagram. You can send your
I'm texting you, Gage.
Thoughts and prayers and good vibes to Gage through that. That'd be a great way to reach out.
Thanks for spending time with me, man.
This is a great episode.
I feel like I went through. I think I had a therapy session. Dude, what do I owe you? Where do I pay you? Some money.
Just remember,
here on
tacos.
the microphone.
You can pay me in tacos.
Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.